Well, good morning. Of course, I'm Ken, and this is SV Hummingbird 2. Been very busy the last couple of weeks since the last video, which this one should be out in the next couple of days, I hope. So the diesel heater has been installed. I converted an aluminum hot water tank from an RV into a fuel tank for the diesel heater, and that seems to have worked really well. That'll be in the videos. And let's see, well, I got the clutches installed on the dash for the control lines coming in from the sails. I got a coffee rack made for a coffee cup holder there in the pilot house, which is pretty vital equipment when you're underway, especially for long cold days. The dog anti-ejection netting is cut and hanging. Not all of it's laced on because the weather has gotten pretty wet, so it can wait, but it's there, it's ready to go instead of just a pile of net now. So the hydraulic steering had a access in the dash that needed a little TLC, and that got done. So we've been, like I say, quite busy. The diesel heater took up most of that time. I began fabricating a metal box for the isolation transformer, which needs to get installed, and I've been buying parts to install the motor the rest of the way. So lots of activity. Some doesn't show yet, but much will. So I hope that you enjoy the video. Please subscribe, give it a like, and you know the drill. If you would like to support our project, you can on Patreon, and I'm working on a few things to put in a store. So we'll see what the coming weeks bring now that the weather's gotten cold again. So unless we get a really good window for weather, I mean, we need a week of no rain to take the pilot house off, move the boat, and then put the house back on. So this time of year, that's pretty dicey, not likely to happen. We'll be watching for one of those once we get the motor installed, but no guarantees. We're waiting to see what the weather brings, and if it's real stormy, I don't really want to do sea trials in stormy weather initially anyway. So with that, I hope that you enjoy the video. So I've been working on this for several days. This aluminum tank was a hot water tank out of an RV. If you look close, the little feet are actually where the flames used to go through the tank to heat the water. So it just so happened that leveling them out was easy, and added some skids and some braces. So I've been waiting for plugs. There's extra holes I don't need. This is going to be the diesel tank for the diesel heater for the boat. So it gives us a better capacity than what came with it, and hopefully it works out that it doesn't leak. So today it's just taped up. That's the actual fuel line, but I wanted to make sure it was there, and I'm going to fill it with water and make sure it doesn't leak, and then I'll have to bake out any residual water after I drain it. But I needed some plugs and all of that, and that's the fill where it goes through the bulkhead and comes out in front of the pilot house. So everything's ready to leak test at this point, and hopefully we'll find out it doesn't leak. If it does, back to the welder. Well, if you're wondering where the diesel heater is going to go, this compartment is right underneath the dash in the pilot house. You can reach it from inside, but you have to pull the wheel and a panel off the dash to get to it. Plus it's about 4 feet deep from the top of the dash to the bottom, so I can't reach that far. So I'm going to show you today how the heater's going in, and yep, the tank is in there already. So yep, there's our little diesel tank inside the compartment, and the heater will mount above it. Okay, so there's the tank and the fuel pump and filter, and the heater is mounted up there with ducting going 4 different directions. It's pretty tight, but it all works. And there's still room under the dash where I have to run wires for things. So the only thing left is to run the wires and then put diesel in the tank and turn it on. So we're really close. Very good. Long day of all kinds of weird positions with my hands. Well, I had to wait for it to stop raining because this panel is on the outside of the pilot house, and I needed to fill that tank, double check for leaks, even though I leak tested it before. And indeed the furnace is running. So far so good. It did suck a bit of smoke from initial fire up into the cabin. I don't think that's going to be a problem in the future. And I think I am going to add an intake vent from the pilot house down close to the floor. But yeah, it's a spider web in there, but everything seems to be maintaining decent temperatures that aren't too hot. The way I ran it through the bulkhead to outside with it wrapped, I can stick my hand in that hole and the foam is only warm to touch, nothing extreme. I will line that with tape once this is shut off and cooled down. All the ducting seems to be fine. It's putting out a great amount of heat inside, and I've only got it turned up about, I don't know, halfway. Would probably keep the boat warm at that setting quite a long time. And then out here, that's where the exhaust comes out under the stairs, and that little collar is like a 3-layer collar. So where it's at the bulkhead, it's not even 100 degrees. It gets hot away from the bulkhead, but it's in the air where it can be cooled off. So I'm not a bit worried about it. I did want to just make sure when I fired it up that I could have this access open to make sure everything was running. Initially it took quite a while to prime the pump. It doesn't pull very much diesel at a time, but it finally got there. So another area I've been working on, I got the navigation laptop from a guy in Canada who actually gets these surplus tough books and builds them into navigation machines. So I've been working on that. That little shelf pulls out so I can still pour hydraulic fluid in the header tank for the steering. And there's just some little bits and bobs down here. That's the access above the steering pump. Still needs some epoxy. I'm waiting for some hardener to fill that hole. And then I got the heater controller installed there on top of that part of the dash. And of course, the all-important coffee cup holder is installed. I still have one little piece to put in under it, but it looks really great. I found a piece that had a huge knot and just drilled out the center for the cup. Well, we finally got all of the clutches installed. They're all through bolted and to that block, which is a 2-inch piece of Sapele, and then it is in turn lag screwed from underneath to the counter, which is 1 1/8-inch plywood with laminate on both sides. So those lags are 1/4 inch. There's 6 of them. I don't think they're going anywhere. And all the holes are drilled through the Fairlead panel there. I just taped it over so that the cold air wasn't blowing in until we get lines in it. Anyway, it's good to have that little piece of kit all put together and ready to go. Everything leads fairly nicely to the winch without too much sideways stress, so I think everything should work really well. Okay, so we have the paddleboard racks installed on the solid handrail. Those racks were made, 2/3 of which were made out of 3 deck frames that I cut out for the steps down into the cockpit or the pilot house floor. So not much going to waste here.